Happy New Year, everyone. This is day 9 into 2022, and I wanted to thank all my subscribers out there and wish you a Happy New Year and hope it's going well for you. And I want to thank all those that have just recently subscribed. It's great to have you on board. All of you are supporting my channel. Now, if you're new to this channel, then a big welcome to you. And if you like what you see at the end of it, why not thumb it up, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you can be notified as and when videos are uploaded. So I was wondering, what is the first video I can put out for 2022? And if you're waiting for the S1 part 3 of using the sewing machine, that is on its way. So some of you have had a lot of queries and questions, and although I've tried to answer them via email and through the comments, I thought this video, or for this first video for 2022, I'm going to do a review rewind. When I did the UTEN review back in July of 2021, 2021. When I did the review, I actually showed you what the machine can do, especially with some of the foot, than opposed to what you can do with them. So I'm going to review all 7 foots, although I did review some of them, but I'm going to just go back and review them all and show you how you should use these foots. So let's jump straight into this and get started. Okay guys, so let's have a look at the selection of foots you got with the UTEN Sewing Machine. If you do have another brand of sewing machine and you have these same foots, it will work exactly the same as I'm going to demonstrate them out in this video. So first we'll actually have a look at the buttonhole foot. You would have your button placed in here. You would slide it down, and of course this is where the little lever will sit in between these two. So I'm going to demonstrate that out to you. You then have the button foot. Okay, so again, I will also re-demonstrate this out again on how to sew a buttonhole as well as sewing the button on. You then have your zipper foot. Now this zipper foot don't just only do foots, but it can do piping as well, and I'm going to show you how you can achieve that with this foot. You then have your blind hem foot. Again, this is another good foot for when you're doing hemming on your skirt and you want your stitching on there to be invisible. Okay, and this is the type you would have got with your machine. We'll also look at the satin stitch foot. Now, in all fairness, I'm not going to demonstrate this out again. I actually already did it in the UTEN review machine, but what I wanted to do is show you the difference between this foot and this foot here. And this is your general purpose foot, your J foot, and this is your zigzag or satin stitch foot, which is your Z foot. Now there is a difference. If you select a stitch where you need to change foot, then do so. And the reason for this is that some of the stitches, especially the decorative stitches, when you sew them, actually can create a little bump or a lump or a little molehill, for a better term, on there. And using the satin stitch foot will allow those stitches to glide through perfectly. And the reason for that, if I turn it over to the back, there is a little groove. There's a cutout groove in here. So if you've got the UTEN machine and we look at stitches 53, 47, 48, possibly 50, 56, 58, all of those sort of zigzaggy stitches that you got there where it builds up on stitches, you want it to be able to run smoothly, and this is why this channel is actually cut out. Your stitches will be able to run smoothly through that groove. On the J foot, you don't have that. It's completely flat. So if you end up sort of using a decorative stitch with this, you're not going to end up with your machine foot sort of doing a little rider, you know, roller coaster ride as a whole. Okay, so that's why if your machine says to change your foot, then change it. Use the Z foot for your satin stitches, I'd ask you, and of course your J foot is for your general stitch. You then have your embroidery, free motion embroidery foot or darning foot. So As well as it being able to free motion, which I will show you, you can also use it to darn as well. And I demonstrate that as well. The feet that the original feet you got with the machine. So let's actually start off by doing the buttonhole. Okay, so what you require is, of course, your button, your garment, and a good gauge ruler, such as this. So, depending on what side you put your buttonhole, I know they say women on the left, a man on the right, or vice versa, but you know what, button is a button. Don't really care. Well, unless I'm making it for somebody, then I'll actually do it as it is. So I'm just going to measure. I'm just measuring my fabric. This is 5.5. So I've decided I'm going to do 1-inch buttonholes. So I'm going to mark out, putting in the center. Remember, the color of thread here will of course be contrasting to your fabric. So I'm just going to mark out centimeter there, 2 centimeters here, and 3 centimeters there. I'm just going to do 3, or 4. Okay, so I've got the marks marked out there. Okay, so once I've actually done that, I'm going to take my button, put it in the center of that mark. So all I'm going to do is just draw a line on either side. Pen's not working too well. And the same go for here. And the same with that one, just there. So you've now got your lines tapped. Okay, so once you've got your foot on, you want to make sure this line is sort of in between where that is, and it's sitting just on the notch of that. Okay, you don't want to be having it there or having it that it comes forward, but it actually sits, and that line, and it's difficult to show you this. Okay, so you have a bit of a line that's just here. So if I lift it up, this line will be sitting almost just below my line there. Okay, so it wants to be sitting basically just about there. And then make sure my central point is also done as well. And let's go. It does come down a little bit. Okay, as you can see, there you go. Your buttonhole is done. Okay, it's going to take a little bit of practice to get it sort of lined up exactly. Because I know when I first started doing it, compared to my old machine, it was a breeze. No, it's going to take a little time for you to sort of get to it, but there you go. You've got your one buttonhole. Let's do that again. So if I put it down, okay, and so. I've got my line pretty much there. Yep. And remember, it's going to come down a bit, and just make sure that this point here is accurate with your first lines. So let's go. It's going to come down a little bit. It should match your line. This has gone over my line a little bit too much. There we go. That is our second button holder. Okay, came down a little bit more than I wanted it to. but it is complete. So I'll just do the 2 there. So, okay, hopefully you got to be able to see that. But there you go. Those are your 2 buttonholes done. So next now I'm going to click off the foot here, push my lever back up, move up my buttonhole. So next thing we want to do now is we want to now put on our button. So let's open up our buttonhole. Don't forget to put a pin at the top end of this, because the last thing you want is doing all of that and then you lose it. Okay, and that will stop when you go to use your needle pick. I'm going to lose a little one because it is actually a tiny hole. Okay, and that's it. I could put a pin at the bottom just to make sure that I've captured everything there and turn it around. And I did. Okay. And the same again here. Good thing about this machine, it really does do nice little holes. I've opened up my hole and very little bit of tidying, but if you want to do some tidying up, you could just get your little snipper and just snip through and tidy up anything that may well be loose. Okay. So once you've done that now, then back to your garment that you're making. So this is my garment that I'm making, and I want to now measure my buttonhole into where I'm going to put my garment. So I'm just going to put it this way, and I'm actually going to just mark it out. So once I've actually got that there, I'm going to use my pen, okay, and I'm just going to mark the hole there. It will come up brilliantly well. This pen is not very good. Okay, so I will mark my hole in there, and I've got my lines there, so I'll just tighten those out. What I need is my buttonhole foot. Now when you're going to do this, you need to drop down your feed dog. It's better to do that, otherwise you're going to get an unbalance. So I will drop down my feed dog. Sorry, I'm too lazy to take my table off, so there we go. Right, okay, so I've marked out my lines, so I'm going to pop my button on, and this is a 4-hole button. I'm actually going to now select my zigzag, and I'm going to do number 3, and there we go. So I'm going to move my button into the point that I had. Okay, and then I can see that that's a little bit too let me just perfect. So I can go ahead and just okay, so I've done that. I just need to turn this, oopsie daisy, it's already tangling up. Okay, and then always turn your wheel to make sure that you've got it going there, and then off you go. And again. And there you go. You've got your buttonhole. So once again, I'll do this one more time. So I'm going to find the point of where I started and just put it into any of the holes. It doesn't matter which one. So I'm going to find my point, which is just about there. If you're not quite in. And again, now I'm going to just test. Yep. And if it goes in the first hole, it should go in the second one, and it does. So off we go. And I'm just going to turn this around. Sit him down. And there we go. We've got our second buttonhole. So you can see the back there. And our second buttonhole is complete. So all that's left to do is to push it in. One. And the second one. You don't need to measure out each button. Hope your buttons are all the same. Okay. And there we go. Okay. Your buttonholes are in. So that's how you do your buttonhole and your buttons. It's a blind hem foot. So what you need to do is to unclip the back of the machine, take off your general purpose foot and add in the blind hem foot just there. Okay, so we've got that ready to go. Okay, now to turn your hem up to do this, you would fold a bit of your fabric down, and then I would then get underneath and pull it, okay? And you want to make sure that this bit of the line is actually straight. This is really important because your foot bit here is going to run against this white bit down here. Okay, so just make sure that is actually straight. And again, you can use, if you've got one, you can use your gauge ruler here to make sure that you've got a good angle on it. So now I can see that my fabric is not exactly straight, but that's okay. So there, across there, that works. Across there, that works. So it's not too bad. Okay. Now I wouldn't normally finger press, but I don't have my little roller thing at the moment, so that's fine. So once you've done that, we are ready to stitch this blind hem. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to do it in two ways. I'm actually going to use a bright colour thread, which you might be able to see, and I'll also change over and use a black thread. So once you've got your thing done, what you want to do then is to match up your fabric. You want to butt it up to the white bit, but not quite sitting on it. Then we're going to use, let's see what stitch we can use for this. We're going to use one of the blind hem stitches, number 7, because I want it to jump over to the left. So, okay, and it's telling me to put the H foot on. So what I've done is, I'll just turn the machine now so you can see, I've actually put my fabric on. And this is actually sitting on the foot there. So using my hand wheel, But allow it to, and then I can see where it's jumping. And is it jumping whatever? If it's not jumping far enough, I can use the little wheel here to turn that around. And I'm going to do it one more time because I don't think it caught. After 3, it will jump. Well, it should jump. Okay, and I'm going to just follow that pattern straight. I'm following, if you're thinking like, okay, how you managed to do this? I'm actually following the inside of the line just on the foot, just there. And making sure that it doesn't. Okay, and as you can see, it is actually taking some of that. Might be a little bit too deep, but it's okay. Okay, so I've changed my thread over. So let's actually continue this. Okay, so I did actually go back over because I didn't catch the bottom half of it, because I think where I changed my thread I was actually a bit displaced. But there you can actually see the row of stitching there, and it has caught most of, it's actually caught most of it, or some of it anyway. But if I turn it over, you'll be able to see now, some of it's quite deep, so you can actually see the difference of what this should be. Okay, so you can hardly see this one because it's almost matching with the thread, but if we go along, and you can actually see it's missed some of the bits on this side here. Yes, that is how you do a blind hem. It takes a little perfection, but this bit here you can see, you can barely see it because the fabric is, oh, the cotton that I used, which was this, is pretty much matching that. And if we turn it on the other side, you can see where the thread is actually caught the fabric. And the same on here as well. Okay, it's quite thick, but if this was actually done on a black fabric, then you more than likely wouldn't see that. Okay, so that's your blind hem stitch. Okay, so the next foot we're going to look at is the zipper foot. 2 pieces of fabric. You will need to actually fold your fabric in half. So you need to turn an edge of your fabric about 1 inch. Okay, and give it a good press there. And do exactly the same for the other side, exactly the same amount that you want to turn up. So once you've actually done that, you then get your zip. Now this zip is longer than what I would normally use, but you then get your zip and you will place your zip, place the fabric to your zip on one side here. And I go ahead and actually pin it. Generally I wouldn't pin, I'd just go straight ahead and do it, but if you're new to sewing, then okay, so there you've got your needle pinned. Let's put our foot on. Well, this fit has got two uses. The first one to do zip, the second one to do piping cord, and I will show you that shortly. Okay, so what you want to do is, actually I'll do it this side. I'll actually clip that off because this has actually got two sides, two bars to it. So you can do a left or a right side. Okay, so I'm actually going to pop this as I'm working on the right side here. I'm actually going to pop this on the right side. Okay, so you want to make sure that your fabric is buttoned up right against the teeth. Then move your needle along. You can bring your handle down to see where you are with that. And that is actually quite perfect to where I want it. Go ahead and stitch. I'm going to actually put over speed on this. Oh, I went a bit off piece there. I wasn't looking what I was doing. But that's okay. Okay. We get the drift of what we are supposed to be doing there. So with the other piece of fabric, we're now going to put this zip. This fabric on top of the zip. And you saw how I pin it. I'm not going to pin it this time, but you saw how the pin was done. Now generally we don't need, because the zip is longer than what I'm doing, I don't need to put the zip down, pull the zip head down. But had it been, then you would actually open it up to allow that stitching, but I don't need to do it on this occasion. And off we go. Usually you would actually reverse on that as well. And there you go. Your zip is in. I cut off my trailing threads. And then if you wanted to finish it off, you would stitch across. Okay, and just be very gentle. And I would actually reverse back. Just do it one more time. And the same, okay, on the same on the other side now, because I'm going to cut off where this zip is, I will actually bring this down. And then I will stitch across this bit as well. Okay, so we've actually done our zip and we've put our zip in. So let's just make this into a little pouch or even a little pencil case. So I'm going to open the zip so I can get an even flatness. Just make sure that my zips are buttoned up together there. Or the zip opening is buttoned up together there. Go ahead and just stitch the bottom of this first. done that, and let's clip off my trailing threads. And then I'm actually going to just give it a cut, just to even it out a little bit. Okay, so now that I've actually done that, I'm actually now going to sew up the sides. And I wanted to do the bottom first because it makes the side a little bit easier. Let me actually stitch on this side of the machine so you can actually see. So again, using 1/4 inch, I'm going to pull my zip down a little bit. So now I'm coming over my zip part, so I'm just going to be very gentle and hope that it does not break my needle. Yep. That's fine. Okay, let me... Okay. Again, snip off all the little trailing threads here. And I'm going to do the same on the other side, and the other side won't be too difficult to do for the simple fact that it's a lot flatter. Reverse back. Last thing I want to do is to break my needle at this point, although I've got plenty. So I'm just going to cut off all this trailing threads. Okay, so we've done all of that. And I left the zip open, which is really important to do, because if you don't leave the zip open, you're not going to be able to turn it through once you've sewn it all up. So the zip is left open. I will cut off the rest of a little bit of the thread. Make sure when you're doing that your zip is away from where you're cutting. I'm going to cut off a bit there. Okay, just remember to turn and snip your corners. Snip your corners there, and now this should sit perfectly okay. There we go. Got a nice little pointy edge there, and the same goes for here. And there you have yourself a little pencil case. Okay, small as a hole, but got yourself a nice little pencil case so you can stick anything you want in there. So I can stick a little roller in there, some thread if I wanted to, I guess. Actually too big. So I can stick my wool in there. I can stick my little gauge ruler in there. And that's how you put on a zip. And it's not that difficult at all. So the next use for the zipper foot is to actually do piping. So what I've got here is this is actually 2.5 inch strip and a piping cord. And what you do is you would just move that out of the way for now. So what you do is you would put your strip in, and you want to find the central side of it. So just measure it up so that you've got the central side. Okay, so you've got the middle of it, just like that. and then I'm actually going to pin it. So I've actually pinned it there. Now you can go ahead and actually pin it all the way down if you're not comfortable in actually holding it. And you just go through and just pin it, just measuring up, making sure the two raw edges here meet in the middle, and that your cord is butted up against the fold, like that. So then what you want to do is this bit of the foot here, you want to make sure that that is actually sitting up against the cord. Now I'm going to take out the pin in just a second, but I'm not going to pin it all the way up. I'm just going to do it a little bit, because this will actually go to be a piping edge around a little garment that I am doing, a little project that I'm doing. Okay, so I've got that there. I'm going to move the pin out. I think that's quite fine. And I'm just going to make sure that this edge is just running against the piping cord. And off we go. And you want to just make sure it's not sitting over it completely. I want to give it a little wriggle room for when I then encase this around a project that I'm actually doing. Again, use something to help you towards it. I'm using a broken seam ripper. So that is the thing. And I haven't actually butted it straight up too tight on the cord, because I want some room to be able to now do the second row when I now attach it to what I am making. So this is the fabric now I'm going to actually use to put the piping around. I'm going to cut this down a little. I'm just going to measure out what I actually need. I don't think I need all of this. Oh, will do. Okay. So I'm actually going to just cut half of this. It doesn't have to be neat, because it won't be seen. The next bit you want to do now is to put it around your little project. So it's going to go around this fabric, and you would lay it raw sides, raw edges together, and you stitch around. Now the reason why I didn't actually have this butted all the way tight like that is because I wanted to leave some room for when I do that second stitch now, after attaching it to this. Okay, and always start halfway down, never start at a corner. So start halfway down the fabric. Okay, and you can actually go ahead and start to actually pin this. I'll actually show you how we do a corner. Okay, so you can actually start pinning it in that way. So let's get Uten out. This time now, when I put the foot down, this edge of the foot here is going to sit right tightly up against there. I shall remove that pin. And you've got your raw edges together. But this time I'm actually going to move my needle across. Yes, I think I've got it exactly what it is. I'll move this pin out the way. And now we can get started. And this time it's really tight. Now I'm going to move this pin. But before I get to the corner, I'm actually going to snip into the fabric. Well, not the fabric, I'm actually going to snip into, put that down, into the binding, which is going to be the corner. Okay, just measure up my, and I'm just going to do a little snip, not too much, and that's right at the corner. I'm going to turn this around. So I'm going to come down a little bit more. Going to turn this around, drop my presser foot, and then just slowly go around without hitting the piping, making sure my edges there, the raw edges are butted up together. And we're going to continue this all the way. Again, I've got another corner, so again I'm going to just snip into this corner bit here, just there. Just turn this around so you can see what I'm snipping. So I'm snipping just where the fabric corner is, just here. So I'm actually going to just snip it there. I'm going to come up towards it. Okay, needle down in the down position, and then I'm going to maneuver it around. I want to keep it as straight as possible, don't want to bunch up that too much. Okay, drop, and then I'm going to slowly just follow it. I don't want to do my bind, I don't want to do the cord, I don't want to be sewing the cord. And there, that's your piping done. And when you turn it through, just put your tenny out the way there. So when you actually go through and you turn it through and turn it around, okay, there you go. You got yourself your piping, and at the back, your frayed edges. your raw edges there. And of course that will be encased over. But there you go. So that's it, guys. That is the rewind and review on the sewing machine foots that came with your UTEN Sewing Machine. I hope it's actually gone some way in answering some of your questions, and the demo has given you an insight on how to use the foots. But I know you're thinking, but there were 7 foots that came with the machine. Where's the other one? Well, that would be the embroidery come darning free motion foot. And that's on its way and will be posted shortly. But in that session, to give you insight, I will show you how I created this, and yes, this. That was, yes, all done on the UTEN Sewing Machine using the free motion foot. And I must admit, I really did enjoy it, and was actually quite happy with the outcome of what I did. But I will take you through step by step and show you how to create those stitches. Now, other issues that I know that some of you have actually had, and that is where you've actually lost your needle inside the machine. Well, if you've fallen foul of that, raise your hand. Yes, I did happen to lose 2 needles in the machine, and I know they're still sitting in there and they're sitting at the base of the machine. But guys, don't worry. I know some people have had a panic about it. Do not panic about it. It's absolutely fine. It's not going to hamper the machine in any way. Well, unless you've got 100 needles lost in that machine, which might cause a bit of a rattle. But no, seriously, it is fine. The way to actually get that out is to get your machine serviced, and you should actually get your machine serviced annually. But if you use the machine every single day, then I would suggest you get it serviced every 6 months. But what you can do to check if it has gone inside the machine to the base is to undo the feed dog plate and just have a look in that area right there and see if your needle is sitting there. Because I know the first time I dropped my needle, luckily enough, it actually sat on the other side of where the feed dog is, and I was able to retrieve it. The other 2 just happens to get lost in there because I had the needle sitting on the machine and I knocked it into the machine and couldn't retrieve it back. But my machine is also due for a service, so I'll be asking them to go through and retrieve those 2 needles because they were brand new. Now, guys, I just want to let you know, I actually have no affiliation whatsoever or association with UTEN. Nothing whatsoever. I'm like most of you. I saw the machine, I read it, I ummed about it, I went away, I thought about it, came back, and I looked at it, and I took the plunge. And I'm glad I took the plunge because for the money and the price it is worth every penny of it. It seriously is. And I had no problems with the machine whatsoever. So, yeah, no affiliation with UTEN whatsoever. But UTEN, if you're out there, get in touch. Hey guys, that is all for now. Remember to thumb it up, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you can be notified as when videos are uploaded. So until my next video,